Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life.
Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast. I love that video. That video we'll start with.
I was just thinking that as you were bringing it in, I'm like, that gets me pumped up every time I see that one.
Yeah. I feel like I haven't watched in a long time, but it's great. Brandon back with you this week. We got Travis hanging out there from Alberta. And then I got to do the big intro. Not just my co-host this week. We do have Counselor Andrew Sturck.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you both on.
Yeah, it's the big move in the municipal world there. So yeah,
absolutely. For everybody
it was
not
a very
paying
quiet
attention,
campaign.
It was.
Yep.
It was
Point of
quiet.
pride was $0 spent on campaign, so very conservatively fiscally conservative, and we saved a lot of trees with no signage and a lot of plastic in the environment with not putting anything up. So. I'd like to be proud of my campaign setup.
There you go. I'd vote for that. This week's episode presented by Katie Transmissions. I was just there today, dropping off some parts to Johnny, FTI parts, getting them in and set up, delivered over there. Lots of transmissions and stuff moving already, right? It's October. Off season is here, unfortunately, for most of us. Not everybody, right? Some people are just getting wound up to head south, but for us, the off season's here. Lots of winter maintenance, lots of stuff going on. All that, your race car, tow vehicle, anything like that. Whip down Katie Transmissions, give them a call. Johnny and Donnie over there, they'll get you hooked up, ready for next year. So thank you to them. That is who is presenting this week. And this week we have a special episode, the Canadian Championship Countdown. That's what we're getting into. Not just the Canadian Countdown. We're talking about all the champions. Well, most of them, because there are a lot.
Yeah.
We looking through what do we got? We have probably almost 15 tracks and series that have champions that were crowned in 2022. So we'll be going through all of those over the next 2 episodes. So a lot going on. We're ready for it. First, got some other stuff happening. Andrew, you and I got to hang out. We did our last race of the year at Toronto Motorsports Park this year. My first RCSS race, Cayuga Super Series or Sportsman Series?
Sportsman Series. Yep.
I always get it mixed up. My first RCSS event, it was awesome. Great to go. Louis and Charlene put on a great event. Great to see them. Great to see everyone else there. Haven't been to, Cayuga in 8-10 years.
We talked about that. So going back a long time for you, right?
So it's nice to get back. We, fortunate, found some success there Saturday. Sunday, people weren't nearly as nice to me.
You had a Sunday like I had a Saturday. Like Travis had a whole weekend in Luskville.
There you go. See, already taking shots over there. Absolutely,
it happens.
It does happen. For those of you that don't know, didn't see it, Andrew did get a chance to jump in a dragster for the first time. Daniel didn't get to make it on Saturday, so Andrew drove his dragster for the Saturday's races. Like we talked about, Travis and Andrew are like brothers now in that dragster. They, it gave them a hard time.
Oh yeah, what did we do? We're 0 for 6, 0 for 7 in that car. I finally put a win light on in the gambler race. I don't know if you heard about that part. There was a gambler. It was. I got lucky. Put one round up, so there's not a goose egg on that car between the two of us. But boy, it's not been friendly to us. So I had
you guys
round
were
one.
Good, right?
Yeah,
and then
Travis made great runs in the car. I made okay runs in the car, to be quite frank. But I mean, in round 1 of Quick Sports, I had a guy put a 5-pack on me off the trailer. Right, he's 1 dead 4. So go into Super Pro, and I can't remember who I raced in Super Pro, but I think they packaged me out on the hit. Like by the time I staged, I was already out. So, one of those type runs. But it was a fun experience. I appreciated it. Appreciate Daniel, whatever kept him away, whatever that was. Thank you. Cause it gave me an opportunity of a lifetime to wheel a dragster, which is now set in motion, something that will probably affect the rest of my life now. So
yes, we did. I hope Jess does appreciate all of this that comes next. I'm sorry it had to happen. And that's how it
completely unintentional, right?
That's right. Andrew has already spoke to me about upgrades that we need to do and what I want to do to the dragster. And he's like, well, you just get it and then tell me how much it is. And then I'll help out with that. And then next year we'll go racing a little more together.
I'm pretty sure between the Ogilvy accounts and what I have at DSE, like we share the same suppliers. I've already been pricing stuff. I don't know if we're on the same matrix, don't get me wrong, but I found the part numbers. So we'll get in touch later on here and get the pieces coming we need to make this work. So
that's right. See, we're all just about getting it done, getting to the racetrack, however we got to do it.
That's it.
But we'll do it. We'll do a full episode sometime comparing, now that we have some more free time up in our schedule, door cars versus dragsters and what it's like driving each of them. That'd be a cool one because the three of us all have experience in all three, or both of the different types of cars.
That's a valid point. The only one who's got, I guess, the throttle stop stuff. That's the only thing we can't necessarily share on. Brandon hasn't been there yet, but
I have not. No. But
we'll figure that out too. So
I can figure it out.
Let's jump into some results from Cayuga if we can get that hammered out. So we'll go with Saturday. Junior dragster, Ryan Pettit over Maya James. We'll speak about her a bit when we get into the championship points countdown because it's kind of a neat deal for her. Junior Consi, Lindsay Caldwell picked up the win. Our bike and sled, Jason Stewart over Dan Earl. The modified, correct me if you haven't heard this one, Bob Richards. I think we've talked about him about a dozen different times. He gave me hell for talking about his car over the air. But I'm like, listen, you've been in every final at the RCSS at Cayuga all year. What have we not talked about and learned yet? He picked up the win over my buddy Glenn Baker. The quick sportsman final saw Blake Sutton over Jack Vanderwell. Jack was the one who strapped the 5-pack on me in round one. So running Pro Charge door car, kind of a unique combo. But Blake, we've talked about quite a bit. Yeah, going 490. Like we were heads up in round one at 496, which was a unique experience. Yeah. But Blake picked up the win in quick sportsman there. First of two finals for him. Jason Stewart, we talked about in bike sled. Foot brake saw Tony Valerio over Art Neal. And Super Pro, which featured one of our friends here, Brandon, picked up his first final there. But Blake picked up the win. Both 20. Both dialed 496. Both go 496 with a 3. And the fourth digit column comes into play. And not in favor for our buddy Brando.
Yes. We were dialed 97. We both broke up
97. Sorry, my bad.
97.
Yes. So even like mile an hour, like 137.40 to 137.58. Like you guys were pacing each other across that finish line.
Yeah. So we were set up to run a 94.8 was the run completion on that.
Yeah. So that's
I just did a bad job of getting behind. Not a very good job. But
Blake
what
did a great job of
Blake did good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Street. Sorry.
I gotta throw it out. My burnout was better in the final. That's how it goes.
Blake did have some comments on that as he was burning out, and all of a sudden you go blasting by him at the 200-foot mark. That was Saturday night. I loved his description of what that looked like from his vantage point.
Yeah.
Street Eliminator, Tom Freeston over James Marshall. That's our Saturday. Sunday, so the final day. This was it. The last race that we were going to find in Ontario that was bracket racing. Maya James picked up the win over Alyssa Stewart and Junior Dragster. We've got Junior Dragster Consi, Georgia Pettit over Carter Daniels. Bike sled, Jesse Vassalero over Jason Stewart. Modified saw Dustin Taylor over Bob Robinson. And quick sportsman, Kenny Grossi over Jim Marshall. Kenny put me on the trailer a couple times over the course of that weekend. Jim Marshall, I think that was his first final with the door car side, but I could be wrong on that one. But good day for them. We've got foot brake, Tony Valerio over Dan Pepper. Dan was a multi-time foot brake champion, so big final for those two guys. Great job to Tony. Mark Manicanen, and this is where I finally jump into the picture with some success. I get to the final of Super Pro. Mark puts Daniel on the trailer at 4 cars with a 14 pack, and Mark's off the bottom. It's going 7-0s. So I want to say 12 dead 2 against Daniel.
Yeah.
Something along those lines, right? So I set up in the final. I'm driving my Mustang. I'm 7 red going 1/4 is what it is. But beside me, Mark's 2 going 1/3 to be 1/4. He's 16 total in the final against me. So needless to say, Mark was on a mission. He's 14 total, 16 total back to back. Had the bye run around before. Before that, he was knocking on doors, kicking people's butt. So
I believe he was 1 twice in a row and then had the bye.
Yep.
And then ran Daniel and you. Like, I think in that span, if you take that, whatever, 12 out, his worst light was 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
In eliminations.
Yeah, just off the bottom.
What are you going to do?
Oh, like you're just running into a juggernaut at that point, right? So,
yeah.
So I don't feel so bad about being 7 red because the only way I win that is if I'm 3 or better. And if I'm 3, I still need those little zeros that bit you on Saturday to fall my way, which is not what I'm going to bank on. So great job to Mark. What a great day for him. Street Eliminator, Dennis Boyko over James Marshall. James gets to 2 finals back to back. So that is the RCSS Spooktacular event that wrapped up our year in Ontario. It was a great time. We had a lot of fun. It was great to see everyone one last time before we laid everything up.
Absolutely. So we'll whip in. We'll cover a quick IHRA World Championship recap. Trav, do you guys have? Nobody was from out west that went to the IHRA stuff? You guys don't have any IHRA tracks out there, or no? There was somebody from Manitoba, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think we have one left. I think is Prince George. Obviously, rewind probably 10 years ago, and that's like when we used to go out and do the World Finals. But I didn't see anybody on my feed.
I think it was just the one gentleman from Winnipeg or Manitoba, I should say, not Winnipeg, Manitoba, that made his way out there. But Canadian-wise, a lot from Ontario. The highlights on that was Cole Ferry, junior dragster, down to 8. So he'll be wearing a single digit. And Owen Henderson in mod got down to 14. I don't know if they still rank you 1 to 10 in the sport, like the bracket side, like they did with class racing. So it's potential that Owen could have a single digit or up to 10 digit there, depending on how they do that round of 14. But those were the highlight guys. All the other Canadians went a few rounds, some tough losses, some tough racing out there, but they all represented us very well, did well in some of the gambler races as well. So kudos to everyone. Good job for going down and representing the Canadian flag well. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Cool to see, right? And a cool event to just be a part of. So we'll whip through now. We'll do some points discussion of it, the championship part.
Yep.
Whip into it. We started time at RCSS. We were just there. Andrew, let's bust out this and let's go to see who the champions were.
Absolutely. So go to junior dragster. So Maya James, like we were talking about, and ironically Cole Ferry, 1-2, and the paint championship points there were decided by less than a round. Both of them going rounds on the Sunday end up being the same number of rounds. If Cole had gone one more round, he's RCSS champion, and not going to IHRA for a separate race. That's an IHRA track, but Cole came up close. Moving on to bike and sled. This was kind of a 2-horse race throughout the year. Mike Konopacki, who is just legendary out this part of the world and in the U.S. as a bike racer, duking it out with Todd Hope. Final day, mathematically, I believe Todd was eliminated, but Mike did his best, put a couple more rounds on the board to seal the deal and take home the bike and sled championship. Foot brake, Bill Thompson from Shannonville Roots out your way. Bill puts his first championship on the board in decisive manner, like 10-round lead at the end of it all. 10 rounds going into Sunday. Had it pretty much locked up, I think, going into the final points weekend because he had like a 9-round lead, I think. So pretty much everyone had to put every round on the board. So great job for Bill. Brad Frazier coming in second there. The ICD Insurance Modified, Mark Menikanen taken the win. It looked like a 9-round lead over Spencer Nightingale. Spencer put a real good run on at the end of the year, putting up a bunch of wins to get himself in position. I don't know if going into the final weekend they had a mathematical shot, I should say that, but it was, an outside shot at it. Dustin Taylor finishing third. We've got Vinyl Window Designs Quick Sportsman, which is our quick class, more or less like a quick 16. Casey Kovacs taking the win there over Ken Grossi. Great year for Ken. So he was the black dragster on the other side of me that we raced a few times. Ken, first year out with the car, figuring things out, and manages to get himself into second place. So that was worth noting because it's not like he's been chasing these things for years. This was the first year for him. But KC with a decisive 6-round win there. Great for him. Tim Knight finishing third. The Street ET, Frank Hood, and Sam Snap. And this is a great one. Tied for points, had to go 2 tiebreakers deep to get it figured out. Frank had a win. Sam had a win. They had to go to the runner-up that Frank had earlier in the year to be able to decide it. Brad Frazier, only 2 rounds behind. So on the final day, everything's up for grabs, which was exciting to see in Street. But Frank bringing it out and taking the win. Corvo Concrete Super Pro, Blake Sutton. We talked about him a lot in the show. He had a great year. Picks up a 5-round lead on the final day. Bob Jennings finishing second. Had a shot at it, but needed an early round exit with a 6-round, I think, win in order to get around him, but not to be on the final day. And that is the RCSS points for 2022.
Good for them. I love the different stories, right? And learning about all these things. So that's the fun part about doing this. So I'm going to go down to the East Coast to Greenfield Dragway, whip through that. Super Pro champion, Roddy Simpson. Runner up there was Paul Weir for the championship. Pro was Bill Shepard. Jeremy Keynes was second place. Bike sled, Glenn Frizzle. Like we say every episode we talk on here, Glenn Frizzle is always a name that we discuss. Chris Jesner was the runner-up for the bike sled championship. Sportsman Scott Tebow and runner-up Wyatt Rankin. This is Wyatt's first year out of juniors. So jump in there and then, be tight for a points championship is awesome. So hopefully it keeps up for that. Junior champion was Jacob Massey, and Caden Sprague was the runner-up down there. So that's some Greenfield Dragway winners, champions. I'd love to have somebody on. We're going to do that here sometime. We've spoke about it. I want to learn more, right? We have to have Trav on all the time. So, now we need to go the other direction and get somebody else on, from the East Coast. Absolutely. Go full way across the country.
Coast to coast.
Yes, sir. We'll do that. Andrew, let's whip through St. Thomas now.
Thomas. So give me a sec here, pulling it up. So we're going to St. Thomas, the Super Series, I guess. I think that's what they call it. Sioux Street ET, Eddie Adams over Michelle Henderson. So that's Owen's mom, who they went down to the World Championships. Owen and Michelle both raced down there, which was kind of a neat combo. We talked about that a little bit. So Eddie picked up the win over Michelle. Then we moved to Junior Dragster Development. Paige Roy picking up the championship win over Erin Pignol. The next class, forgive me, I'm pulling these up one at a time here. Junior Dragster, so the main event junior. Reese Hamilton. So Reese was one of the racers down at the World Championships. Picking up first, Lauren Roy second, Brooklyn Noakes. So this was Brooklyn's final year. She was at the World Championships as well because she won juniors previous year. I can't remember if it was 21 or 20 that she won, but she's aged out now. We'll be driving the Super Pro Dragster that her dad's been keeping warm, I guess. Best way to put it for her. She jumped into this year, actually driving a few times. So, but congrats to Reese. Great championship year. We'll move to Owen Henderson in Modified, picking up the W. So there was this season that he won to qualify to go down to the World Championships. Owen picked up the win in championship fashion over Drew Buchner, Eric Marsh coming in third, and then Al Blanchard Wyatt Henderson. So Owen's brother coming in fourth. So good 1-4 finish for the brothers there in Modified. And in Super Pro, it's gone. Where'd it go? It was Rick Atkinson picked up the win. Rick didn't make it down to the IHR event, unfortunately. I don't have second because apparently I've missed that slide now. But Rick's a multi-time champion. He's been to the Worlds. He went down to Memphis a few years back as well. But congrats to see him. And it was on the final day. I remember this one now because I remember we talked about it, I think, a little bit in the earlier episode. On the final day there, I think there was a 4-horse race, and Rick ended up winning to come around to take the championship. So another one of those final day heroics. And I can't verify this, but I'm pretty sure someone told me going into the final day, Rick had no idea he had a chance. He just going out there putting on win lights, and turns out at the end of the day, it's like, oh, by the way, you won the championship. Can't confirm that, but I got it from a source that I feel would lead me astray. So congrats to Rick. Great to see him pick up a win there. We'll head east again. I guess Cape Breton. Is that where we're going to head with this one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will nail off the east, and then we'll go west. Don't worry, Trav. Your time's coming. You're coming.
Yeah.
We're coming up.
Yeah, we're a couple hours ahead. It makes sense. It's all good.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So Cape Breton Dragway, Super Pro champion Dan McLeod. Runner-up was Benny Neaston. Benny, we've talked about how many times, right? Yeah. It's funny looking back and seeing all the names that you do recognize. Pro Glenn Cook was the champion, and Donnie Chambers was runner-up. Bike sled, you're not going to believe this, but Glenn Frizzle was the champion in bike sled at both tracks. So good for Glenn. Runner-up Donnie Kosnick. Sportsman, Hank Neaston, Benny's dad, right? We've talked about the Neaston boys all summer long. Those guys are lighting it up down there. Runner-up was Karen Bellows Jr. Gavin Posibon takes the championship over Silas Bellows. It's good for them. We'll whip through 2 seconds. I do have a quick note before I get the Atlantic Drag Racing Association, the ADRA. This is the 25th year for that point series for them. So that's awesome. It's a 4-race series whipping through. So, I'm not saying I like those nice even numbers or round numbers, I guess, with the 25.
Yeah.
Right. If you're the 23rd champion, that's still cool. But the 25th is a little neater. You know what I'm saying?
Bring to it, right?
It does. It sounds really good. Super Pro, that would be Brett Ramsey, who was the champion. Benny Neaston, runner-up. We're hearing lots of names back and forth.
Yep.
Pro champion Mike Ingram, runner-up was Bill Shepard. Bike and sled class, you can swear we're making it up at this point. Glenn Frizzle takes the championship. We're 3 for 3.
Hat trick.
In
the
bike sled class. Whipping through. Kevin King was the runner-up. Sportsman champion Gus Longafee. Runner-up Wyatt Rankin. Junior Gavin Posibon. Runner-up was Bryson McNeil. So you're keeping track, right? We got a lot of repeat names here.
Yeah. Big years had, right?
Big years had. Yeah. One more, the Atlantic Pro Tree Series. This is a best 3 out of 5 series. Super Street was Richard Boyd was the champion. Benny Neaston runner-up. Super Comp, Brett Ramsey. Runner-up was the champion. Runner-up was Justin Cummins. And Super Gas, Benny Neaston. Runner-up was Glenn McLean. So good for all those boys.
Absolutely.
That's an awesome year for a lot of guys, slang on that one. A lot of guys that did really well. So good for those people, all the racers. Like I said, we're going to talk a lot more about it. I want to learn so much more about East Coast racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to get some of the super racers on there too, like 90 racing. I love 90 racing, right? So we can get some conversation in on the pro tree side of things there. That would be right up my alley. Make my night.
It would be cool. I'm excited for it. So now,
the moment that
everybody has
been back and forth, hey?
A lot of back and forth. A lot of.
Yeah. Super gassing.
So the moment that everybody has been waiting for now, we do get to let Travis talk a little bit on the show this week. So Trav, we got a lot of stuff from out west you're going to talk about, so let's hit it. We did talk a lot about the classics when they did end last time you were on. We'll recap it a little bit too, and then go through the rest of them.
Sounds good. It's better to keep me. So we'll start with the classics again, I guess. Monty Beagle, who just continues to turn on win lights everywhere he goes. He got shootout championship, so he got the $5,000. he had a pretty commanding lead going in, and kind of held on. And Craig Johnson and him, I think, both lost first round, but 2 or 3 finals, won one of them in Mission, and runner-up, I believe, Lorenz Schwartz, who is number 3, and actually was pretty ended up staging up in his pickup truck to get that third place spot. $1,500 or $1,000 on the line for third place. So yeah, Monty and Craig both had great years. No stranger to the winner's circles. And then on the box side, obviously Chevy Reeves can own the $10,000. He had I believe, a final in Edmonton. He made it to the split in Edmonton, and then won Mission and in Medicine Hat, but it was enough to hold off Mike Crozier, who was in second, snuck in there in third place. I think Dalton was in fourth going into Medicine Hat, and he lost to George LeBlanc in the final, but it was enough to get him an extra 25. You guys all get gold cards, and depending on if they were for gold card for the shootouts for 2023. Craig and Mike, they both got a gold card to the main events. And then the third place guys, they got 50% off. So kind of a silver card. So that was, and then for the heavy metal series, which was the 8th mile series that put on at Rad Torque Raceway there. He did a good job organizing it. We had Rock, who's been on the show, Ryan O'Connor. He ended up finishing first. Crozier, who you just heard of, finishing second in the classics. His dad, Chris Crozier, medal series. And then ROC's dad, the Doc, he finished third in the heavy metal series. So a lot of father-son. I didn't really realize that until I started talking here. But then we, which is Edmonton's obviously top sportsman, top dragster combination. Quarter one was super tight going into it. We didn't run a ton of them races this year, just kind of had enough on our schedule. Those are the people that we race with all the time. It was super tight going into it. Getting the win in his door car, Grand Am. It's I want 40s, maybe a little bit slower, like 750, 760. But door car got the win there. Jason Pav, no stranger to top threes and winners circles out this way. Ashley Huffman, which is actually they're really good customers. That's a dragster that we've had in our shop. She's a great driver. They finished 460, I want to say, when I was looking at it. I'm not sure what the tiebreaker was. I'm assuming he's qualified on reaction time out this way in that series. So good year, close going into the last weekend. I think it was kind of a coin toss. I think Joe might have actually, I don't know, but I know there was a couple spots that swapped throughout the weekend there. So it was a nail bite. And then in Mission, we got some familiar names, side of things where we see these guys the majority because we don't get out to Mission too often. Johnson ends up taking the win in Super Pro off of the bottom. Martin has actually won a classics event this year. He won our 5K warm-up race. He's been running the same combo for 30 years. Sam, and like it's a 650 door car on the coast, I believe, and see that guy in the other lane because he's probably got a logbook this thick, and he's actually finished. I think he's finished first in the division a couple of times for pro side of things. So he was second, and then Richard Love was third. Jim Benke, who he's been racing on the West Coast for a long time. He's a really good racer. He ended up finishing first. Chris Stone, also a really good West Coast race. He ended up second, and then no stranger to these top three in Mission for their point series on the pro side, and then I got points in, and pro, no stranger in Medicine Hat this year for the pro points was Monty Beagle once again, and Isaac Stetner was third, and then on the Super Pro side was first in points in Medicine Hat, Tanner Gates, a really good young racer. He was second, and then Rick Wagner rounded out the top three for Medicine Hat Super Pro.
That's a handful, right? Like,
yeah,
that's good though. There's a lot of familiar names, especially it's cool. Like, and I've said it before, right? That I've been out there, and then you might not know everybody's face, but you've heard the names now, right? So it's cool to see them all around, and then you kind of learn about where they're from and where they travel to. But
I love the familiarity that you start to build as you start to hear about, these guys going rounds and these girls going rounds, right? And, like that was one of the things with the show when we talked about it, was starting to get to know names that are outside of your circle, right? And see these great years and hear about these successes, right? So that's really cool. That's really awesome.
And I like obviously we've talked about the classics with the point series and what winners get. It's something that's always interesting to look at, right? For different series and across the way, from coast to coast in the country, and how it all kind of structures through, right? And what people race for, what brings them out. So it's really neat, right? This is the whole point of everything we're doing. So that's pretty much what we're going to hit on for championships this week. So we still have, what do we got here? 6-7 series that we're still going to talk about in 2
next
weeks.
Show, Grand Bend, Luskville, the Super Tour, Naperville, Shannonville, right? So there's a long list there, and there's a few more. We got Can-Am Stock, Super Stock Series we can mention from out here as well. I know there was a tight racing out there. That final happened actually at the Ontario Bracket Finals from a few weeks back. They had their championship wrap up as well. So we got a few more we can talk about, and even more on top of that. So a lot more to come.
Absolutely.
Not more.
Absolutely.
I should go backwards a little bit when we're talking about championships. I digress. I missed at the IHRA World Championships, Jeff Talbot going to the final on the Sportsman Race of Champions, which was the gambler race on the Friday. I wouldn't say gambler. It's not really a gambler, but the pre-race. So Jeff drove down with his car from Stratford to Holly Springs, Mississippi, and raced it, and then goes to the final against all the best sportsman racers in the world to get to the runner-up on the Race of Champions race. So did not mean to miss that. Just oversight on my end as I'm rolling through everything. But I didn't get a chance to even stay up and watch that. I tried so desperately and missed that. It was the next day I saw the picture. So good for Jeff. Great job on their end.
It's always handy when someone with the username Lunchbox comes through to help you out, right? Getting all the info right. Everybody's got to keep us on our toes, right? We can't miss anything. That's what we appreciate, right? We appreciate everybody helping us out.
Absolutely. Yeah. So maybe we should transition. Subject of noteworthiness. Oh, I missed that.
That was for the update when Travis was talking about World Champ.
Okay, yeah, so I know Martin has won chip before in Super Pro, I think on the top, and I knew that, but Craig Johnson saying 2000 he was the world champ. I think off the bottom. So yeah, the guy's been there, done that. We'll say that.
So that'd be on the NHRA side we're talking. So he would have made the trip to Pomona then.
Yeah. So Mission's always been guys. They always do like a team finals team and everything like that. So yeah, that's Martin. The guy's not done yet.
Nice.
I like it.
That's all right. So the fun part, I guess, we'll touch on this because this is all developing as we're talking tonight before a pre-show, right? Saturday night, for the last week, I think if you're in bracket racing, you've been watching the $1 million race unfold from Montgomery, Alabama at Capital City. And you and I, Brandon, we watched the million itself on the side of my trailer Saturday night after we were done getting shellacked up and down the racetrack. Campfire out, s'mores being made, and on the big screen, it is the white classic stacker. And we watched a neat final, not one that we would have expected to have seen, to be honest with you, simply based on the week we watched where they were shutting down racing. I want to say early, but I mean, I watched a lot of racing until 10, 11 o'clock at night, but early by the sense of the standard of the million where they would run till 2, 3 in the morning due to cold. Some fast cars, right? Tucker Cancelar and Race Tarleton, 480 drags or 480 door car and 460 dragster duking it out for the $1 million purse, right? And Tucker coming along with the win. And as we were kind of talking about early in the show, like the final 3, which included Tom Stalba, some young racers, some NHRA racers. Tom's got a long history in the NHRA side, but kind of not the 3 you maybe would have picked in the pool to see in the final. And certainly from a car standpoint, like a 480 door car in the cold weather down south there, based on what we kind of saw developing, not what we would have talked about as seeing what we would have thought for a door car in that final either.
Absolutely. It was, like I said, when we were watching it, going through it all, like the 480 door car, man, that was just getting wound up. The big burnouts, smoking them out there. That was the best part. You know,
oh, absolutely.
I was, I'm not going to say I was disappointed when the wind light didn't come on for the door car, but, you know, it's still exciting, right?
Absolutely. And he was sitting on the bye for multiple rounds too. Like it was, you know, watching him carry the bye even car round after even car round to finally, you know, race to get it in the semis to go to the final, right? Was interesting. I mean, we were talking beforehand, there was a lot of 6.0, 16 cars I think you would have put money on just based on that inclement track that we'd watched for a week down there, right? Starting to, you know, be an issue at like that 8 o'clock on time zone. I mean, we watch a lot of cars blow tires off or go hard left and right. Like Labousse in the Chevy 2, right? Like there's a guy going 16s. You thought that's the car I'm going to put money on. And, you know, turns out to be the 480 car, right?
Well, and you even look at the quarterfinals, you know, we talked about, you know, some unconventional names being in the final, but like Ash and Lynch was going 430s and Ash was going 440s, if I'm not mistaken. Those two know how to get it done. And I mean, you know, I do think I remember, like AJ, I think lost. He was good, and the other guy was just better. But I think Lynch, or I know the round before that, I think he was 40 and got away with one too, right? So,
yeah, you never know, right? Especially at those massive races, right? Like you really just need to get lucky for. You've got a normal race that's like you got one, you know, at those ones, especially with how cold it was, like, you know, you got to have one, you know, maybe 2 or 3 to slide through and get that one done. Because when I was thinking about the race and the million itself, right, the largest million, OG million that has ever happened, right, 496 entries. I'm like, this is going to be a showcase of the best, right? And then at the end, and like I said, with not your everyday household name in the final, it really shows how when you're rolling and you need to get the rounds that you need in a timely fashion and pulling lanes the right way, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying these guys aren't unbelievable racers, right, who were in the final, but they're, like I said, they're not the everyday name that come to mind. So, you know, the no-name guy, whoever that might be, from any racetrack, you've got a shot to be there, you know, because you just need to get a hold of it. I believe that race that was talking about it that was driving the door car the weekend before he was there, and like he couldn't get anything better than a 40 light. Yeah. Right. And then rolls through the million and goes to the final, right? Like that's, you know, it shows that even at these mega events, you just need to get pulling the lanes the right way and you still have a shot as much as anybody does.
Well, now is the thing. Like, you watch some of those rounds, like there were some packages where it's like 8 versus 5, and the guy who's 8 beats like everybody else for the first 25 pairs ahead of that and after that, but gets the 5-pack car beside him. And then the next pair is, 43 to 39, 1 over, whatever. It doesn't really matter, but we're talking 50 packs for the win. Like, a lot of luck. But even that interview was neat too at the end, right? Again, with race, when Jed asked him, like, did you have to change anything, or did you change anything strategically as you're moving through? Like, this is a 2-day race that we're talking about now because of the 496 car deal. Like, this isn't formatted as a 2-day race. It ended up as one. And I thought it was a neat answer in that, like, you see a bit of a pause to it, and that he didn't, there wasn't this big strategic change, right? Like, it was just flat out, we're going to try there and keep turning on win lights as long as we can, right? There was no, we're going to get more aggressive per se. Like, it's just, we're there. Like, you start off with this, it's got you this far. We're going to just keep doing what we're doing, right? And hopefully it keeps turning on electricity in my lane type of thing. Right. Which was kind of neat, because I was honestly anticipating that answer of, like, you get to that round where you kind of feel it. And I think if you guys have experienced it, where you just get that round where you got that momentum, that wind in your sail, feel that if I just keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to win this, and you start getting maybe more aggressive. Like, you pull a couple of numbers out because you don't feel like you can do wrong. You just know you need to tighten it up. And to have them say, like, we just keep rolling. That's all we were going to do. I mean, then sat on the bye for multiple rounds. So obviously he was doing something right and got all the way there. But I was intrigued by that. That was an interesting take, right? To say that.
Brad, did you get a chance to watch most of it? I know, like, normally you're up to date with all the big money races that are going on, right? How much of it did you get to watch, and what do you think?
Yeah, so I watched, I think I watched up until, and then I had a little bit of a break, and I turned it on and caught up at the quarters, where actually I think it was the round before the quarters. And yeah, it's like, it was, extremely competitive, especially when I got the second time. Like, once we're down to, I think there was an 6-car quarter. But yeah, there was a lot of a weird, to me, there was a lot of weird packages that were actually for the million. Like, just seemed like Andrew touched on a little bit, and those guys, like, I've obviously never been to that million or been in those situations, but there was definitely some weird pairs where it would be like, like total beside each other, and then the next time they're coming up 40 and 40 something. I don't know how much of that kind of influenced, the recent news we've had about. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm looking right now at the quarters, refreshing my memory a little bit. Like, Lars, 12, his guy's 5 red. Stalbo was 20, his, and then Tarleton is 7 to Ash is 15, and looks like Adam is, I think, 7 dead 4. So, it was extremely competitive as the night went on. Finding that luck there, or they just kind of had the programs that into the later rounds, which I think that has a lot to do with it too, right? You got to find a way to win at temperature and any other challenges that you might be facing, right?
It does, and I feel like people don't think about it before you roll in there. Even when you've done it, I think you have to do it so many times before you. I'm not sure you ever say that you're 110% prepared for whatever can come at you, especially in October. And when I was there, it got cold. Now, it was chilly for us. It was chilly most of the day, so it didn't move a whole lot throughout the day. The track was always there, where certain points of the weekend it looked like it seemed to start going away, hence why they called it early most nights. And kind of you a little bit touched on it, right? There's stuff on Facebook, everything like that going around for different timing system things that might have been happening and the impact that can play on. It'll be interesting to see where this event goes next, We have already got an update on
an
Facebook.
Hour before the show we go on
exactly.
tonight. The big post on Folk Race or the Million Racing is that like the Million is not at Montgomery next year.
Yeah.
Right. So we're doing the pre-show conversation, and all of a sudden now there's this news that the Million's moving again.
Exactly.
Because it was in South Georgia last year, and
then just came back
again, right? Yeah, I guess because of everything that kind of transpired. And as you say, like this is the OG Million. This is the this is the memorable Million. This is an Indy for bracket racing. We want to take the NHRA side of things, right? And they've elected that they don't want to worry about, I guess, being tarnished or the worry of that, right? So they're on the road next year. And
well, like as a promoter, and I'm sure you can relate to guys like you guys. I feel for the folks, and buddy, because you literally just, we got to look at 2 years previous to this as well. So we all remember the show, G-Dub and Rabbit rerunning each other. What seemed like embellish a little bit, but that had nothing to do. And the track and the promoters were not saying anything. Talking to KB at the Million this year, and what I've heard from other people is, no, they continue. No, we're not. We're not doing that because something's not right. I believe that was old ownership of Montgomery City, and then moved to South Georgia. And I honestly I couldn't tell you the Millions or was in the Million last year at South Georgia, and what the whole sentiment was from there. I think everybody likes Montgomery, and it's the OG Million. That's right. So then we fast forward from South Georgia last year to this year, and Million that we've ever seen, $640,000 to the winner. And then before, like, we're 2 days removed from the last 100K that they're moving to a new venue. So I mean, it's a tough after seeing how alive and well that stage of bracket racing is, and how much trust people have in the folks, and how much trust people thought that they knew and that host track, and to see how they come back from it is going to be quite interesting. I think it's going to look like next year. We threw around some ideas before the show. I don't think you go as far south as Florida. Personally, speaking to the elephant in the room, I mean, Bristol's a great track, and it ain't that far away. Where else do you go with it, right? I think that a lot of those people want it to be an
I got it for, we weren't sure which way to go with it. I think you have to stay south. I don't think you want for that race, the type of race that it is. I'm not sure that taking it to Bristol, like those mega tracks, Bristol, Charlotte, Norwalk, even Indy, for example, like for the same stuff that's like a major facility.
Well, they tried to take it to Indy. Remember that years ago?
Exactly. They did try to take it there, and then it was everything else because of the
issues.
Yeah. Didn't they move? Didn't night they moved the race when they tried to have it in Indy? It was either Thursday or Friday night. They moved it.
So Monday, Tuesday. That was the race that wasn't it?
Rick Arnold went.
Rick, yeah, he was the runner-up at that race. So Monday or Tuesday, they're supposed to be rolling into Indy. There's a discrepancy amongst what is going to be allowed and not allowed at Indy, and they moved it to Muncie. Like I remember watching that unfold online of racers like, we're going to have a million. We need a few hours to find a track, like insanity, right? And they land, I think, at Muncie. They start the race. It's it wasn't as long back then. Like it was like Wednesday or Thursday that they were going to start. The million is Saturday, right? But like they were like, I remember reading about people saying like they're in holding lots at Indy. They're at truck stops in Indiana. They're on the road to the central Indiana, and it's like, hold on, we're not sure where we're going to land, but we're going to find a track. And Muncie opened up their gates and held it for them, right? So back to can it come that far up? Like the only way it comes that far north, not to Indy per se, but like up, you got to move a date now, I think, right? Like you're talking about taking it from that traditional late October date to, I don't know if early October is even, like early enough. Like I think you're talking late September, and we were in Tennessee in late September. It can get pretty cold.
It can be
still.
Chilly.
Yes. You need heaters and you need ACs, and you don't know which one you're going to need depending on where it is. So
you'll probably need both more than
I was going to say, probably need both. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that you need, like, the facility still needs to be a part of, it's not like the outlaw, I don't know if that's the right word, but that kind of mentality of that race, right? I'm not saying stuff there's like is unsafe or everything like that, but like, that was a big part of moving from Indy was getting through tech inspection.
Yeah.
Like
you need a place that's going to work with you.
said. Yeah, like Randy says, and this was after the one you were at, where it crashed. It's a southern bracket race, and it's going to continue to be a southern bracket race. Shorts are allowed, But,
yeah.
That's never happened. Right. That's never happened.
No,
allegedly.
Not ever.
Allegedly. Is this a Letterkenny reference, right? Allegedly, right?
Yeah. That's right. So that'll be that. I guess for this week, we can kind of roll it up. Like I said, there's a lot.
I could sit here and talk about this race for an hour probably,
forever.
Right? So,
and it's good, right? It's all good information. We love, the discussion, and that's the plan for all winter is racing discussion, things like that. We have a lot of big plans. I am currently looking at our schedule, I guess, whatever, with all the upcoming dates. It's pretty crazy. It's a lot going on. Rachel's got a lot set up here, so it's going to be exciting.
There's a lot going on. I mean, this is banquet season, right? Like all the banquets. I don't know what it's like out west there for you, Travis. You can fill us in, but like November, early December is like mark it off. If there's a track, a series, it's banquet season. If you own a banquet hall, you are making money right now in the motorsports world, right? So it's
absolutely same out here.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. You should come out for the Lustville Banquet, Trav. You'll have a great time. Come in for that one. We'll give you the, that's right. Andrew might come.
Are the boys going to make some bacon? Can Kev bring some bacon or no?
If we messaged Kevin right now and told him that you were coming, I'm positive we can get bacon set up there.
Super tour bacon at the banquet.
Yeah.
Well, that's not.
But we're probably going to be wearing our nice. We don't want it to smell like the bacon. So if they could like cook it in another room,
cook it elsewhere. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. We need it cooked somewhere else. It's always wake up the next morning and you immediately remember that you had some last night. Even if you don't eat it, doesn't matter. You still know there was bacon present, right? And you have to wash like your whole unit. Everything needs to be cleaned after. But that's been great, guys. Like I said, we have 2 weeks from now. We're going to finish up going over the rest of the champions from everywhere else. So that's going to be good. Check it out next week. Thanks, Trav, for coming on. Counselor Andrew, thank you for giving us your time and blessing us with your presence, I guess. That's all I could come up with.
That's all right. We'll work on this a little bit. I got some getting up to speed to do, and I'll get you up to speed on some of the things. So I guess at this point, we can put a motion on the floor to end this particular meeting. And if there's anyone who seconds it, right? That sort of thing.
That's right. That's right.
There you go.
That's right.
I'll second that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But all right, guys, thanks a lot. Check us out. Follow everything Bracket Life, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Keep up with it, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life.